Acting is a serious game, until a heavy scene is interrupted by a rando chewing in the background. Extras are supposed to blend in, but not all of them get the memo. There's a good reason why moviegoers know Alfred Hitchcock as the master of suspense. Few do it better than he did, and 1959's North by Northwest represents Hitchcock at the very peak of his powers. The film focuses on advertising executive Roger O. Thornhill, played by Cary Grant, who gets mistaken for a government agent and goes on the run.
And what the devil is all this about? Why was I brought here?
Games? Must we?
A thrilling cat-and-mouse chase unfolds, culminating in a memorable finale. Hitchcock fills the movie with twists, turns, and moments of agonizing suspense. And yet, one of the most shocking moments, where Eve Kendall, played by Eva Marie Saint, shoots Roger in the shadow of Mount Rushmore, suffers from the actions of a young boy in the background. Seconds before Eve takes her shot, the boy preemptively puts his fingers in his ears, anticipating the sound of the gunshot. While extras occasionally milk their 5 minutes of fame, rarely does a background player so spectacularly spoil a film's pivotal moment, making this scene unique. Perhaps the young boy simply had enough of hearing that gunshot go off after multiple takes, so he took matters into his own hands. And despite Hitchcock's legendary attention to detail, this take made it into the final cut. So much of the magic of Jaws resulted from happenstance. From the famously unreliable shark, the absence of which actually increases the tension on screen, to the Martha's Vineyard locals drafted as extras, Jaws is a triumph.
I just want to know one simple thing. When do I get to become an islander?
Ellen, never. Never. You're not born here, you're not an island. Maybe.
The film focuses on the fictional island community of Amity, which is thrown into chaos when a great white shark shows up on their shores. Under pressure to make the beaches safe for the tourists who flock there, Police Chief Martin Brody, played by Roy Scheider, shark expert Matt Hooper, played by Richard Dreyfuss, and grizzled fisherman Quint, played by Robert Shaw, are called upon to rid the town of the menace.
It's a tiger shark.
A what?
While there's a wonderful authenticity that comes from using the locals in the film, resulting in iconic moments such as the what guy, it opens up the opportunity for chaos. Many eagle-eyed fans have spotted the dude who looks absolutely delighted to be running into shark-infested waters. But don't forget the hospital worker who just can't stop looking at the camera. After Michael Brody narrowly avoids an encounter with the shark, he's taken to the hospital to recover. While a nurse assures his mom that he'll be fine, another hospital worker pushes the bed and looks up at the camera at least 3 or 4 times. It's impossible not to see it once you know it's there. Daniel Craig's second outing as James Bond, 2008's Quantum of Solace, was a continuation of the story in Casino Royale, in which Bond tries to track down the members of a shadowy criminal organization.
I knew it was too early to promote you.
Well, I understand double O's have a very short life expectancy, so your mistake will be short-lived.
As with any Bond film, this one is a massive production, with huge numbers of moving parts and big action set pieces. Alongside the main cast, plenty of extras fill out the background, whether as audience members at the opera or a person sweeping the road. Picture this. You're an extra in a James Bond film and you receive the exciting, if daunting, news that you are going to be in the shot behind the man himself. All you have to do is sweep the ground and blend in. It sounds simple, but unfortunately, this particular extra looks like he's never used a broom in his life as he sweeps the air. Some fans have noted that there was probably a very good explanation for this, and that the extra may have been instructed not to actually sweep in case the sound was picked up. Even so, it looks incredibly silly and takes away from Bond brooding in the foreground. In the late 60s, actor and martial artist Bruce Lee got his big break with American audiences following his appearance as Kato in the Green Hornet TV series. At the beginning of the following decade, Lee broke into Hollywood with films like The Big Boss and Fist of Fury. By 1973, when Enter the Dragon rolled around, Lee was a huge star and considered a legend of the genre. With the gravitas Lee brought to the screen, it's no wonder that those who appeared alongside him, even in minor roles, were thrilled to be in his presence.
I do not hit. It hits all by itself.
In one scene, Lee is surrounded by a group of students, whose one job is to appear stone-faced while the master does his thing. But one extra didn't get the memo and can be seen laughing in the background as Lee kicks an unfortunate person in the head 3 times. We get it, watching Bruce Lee kicking butt is incredibly exciting, but it does take away from the impact of the scene to see one extra laughing with glee. They say never to work with kids or animals, but the behavior of the canine actor in this scene from Back to the Future Part 3 was exemplary compared to the child playing one of Doc Brown's young sons. In the 3rd installment of the Back to the Future saga, the action moves to the Wild West, as Marty races to save Doc from the trigger-happy Buford Mad Dog Tannen. While kicking about in 1885, Doc falls in love with Clara Clayton, and they have 2 sons together.
These are our boys! Jules! And Vern!
What should have been a touching family moment became a source of much discussion among fans when they noticed the kid playing Vern gesturing for the camera to come closer and then pointing at his crotch. It looks like he really needs to pee. And you can't blame the kid really, but it is surprising that this take made it into the film. Once you see it, it's both distracting and embarrassing for the actor in his big moment. Martin Scorsese packed his sprawling gangster epic Goodfellas with memorable moments, from the iconic opening line to the closing sequence set to Sid Vicious's cover of My Way. The film largely focuses on Ray Liotta's Henry Hill and his life in the mob alongside Robert De Niro's Jimmy Conway and Joe Pesci's Tommy DeVito.
But I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you, I make you laugh.
There's plenty of double-crossing and drama along the way, but one crucial scene is almost completely derailed by a scene-stealing extra. Henry and Jimmy meet in a diner. Neither man trusts the other. Then, Henry is given a hit in Florida, which confirms his suspicion that Jimmy plans to have him killed instead. At the scene's center are Henry and Jimmy, engaged in a conversation with life-or-death consequences. But behind Jimmy sits an extremely distracting extra. It's a cardinal sin to stare directly at the camera. This background actor does everything possible not to, but he fails miserably. All he needed to do was sit in the background and focus on his food. But his overthinking results in him looking like he's trying to upstage De Niro, something few people are capable of. Sometimes, there's a healthy dose of irony in scenes that are ruined by extras, and this proves true in a moment from 1981's Raiders of the Lost Ark. Indiana Jones' globe-trotting escapades lead him to Cairo, where he and Marion Ravenwood are ambushed in a thrilling chase sequence. After a nefarious monkey exposes Marion's hiding place, Indy searches for his companion in the center of a bustling marketplace. Things come to a head when he faces off against a black-robed assassin, who displays his impressive knife skills before our hero hilariously reminds him not to bring a knife to a gunfight. It's one of the film's best and funniest moments. But fans have pointed out that if you look closely behind Indy, you can see a butcher who looks like he's barely caressing the meat with the cleaver, let alone chopping it. Given the posturing of Indy's opponent, this poor butcher is perhaps even more noticeable, and his prominence right behind the leading man makes it impossible to miss. The argument that there isn't a whole lot to ruin in this cult disaster piece is certainly fair, but that doesn't stop the extras in Tommy Wiseau's The Room from doing the absolute most to stand out for all the wrong reasons.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bull. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
In this film, written by, directed by, and starring Wiseau, much of the action takes place in the home of Wiseau's character, Johnny, and his future wife, Lisa. Unbeknownst to Johnny, his betrothed is sleeping with his best friend, Mark. Plus, Lisa's mom has breast cancer, and their neighbor Denny is indebted to, and possibly buying drugs from, a notorious local gangster, although none of that really matters by the end. Resisting the temptation to include the doggy from the florist in this list because, if anything, he enhances the moment, it's in a coffee shop that we find the distracting extra. When you manage to overlook the banalities of the scene, the conversation between Johnny and Mark has the potential to be very revealing given the infidelity happening behind closed doors. When Johnny leaves, Mark looks pensive, clearly considering the damage he's doing to their friendship by sleeping with Lisa. Unfortunately, this moment of reflection is ruined by the extra sitting behind Mark who turns around to stare straight into the camera lens while he chows down on his food. The 1958 classic sci-fi horror film The Blob may be tame by today's standards, but this film about a gelatinous alien life form terrorizing a Pennsylvania town still retains the power to thrill and chill.
Hey, what gives? I thought you cats didn't dig spooky shows.
One of the movie's most famous scenes, when the titular mass attacks a movie theater full of unsuspecting teens, should be one of the most terrifying. However, the edge is taken off by the hordes of extras smiling when they should be screaming. While enjoying a horror movie, the teens find themselves the stars of one when the blob spills through the projection booth, kicking off mass hysteria. As the crowd scatters onto the streets, we hear screaming. But look closely and you'll see that many of the extras have got big, cheesy grins on their faces. There's no doubt that this briefly takes away from the scene's impact, but the moment has become so legendary that it birthed a surprising tradition. The Colonial Theater in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, where the scene was filmed, hosts Blobfest, an annual event that celebrates the legacy of the Blob and includes a special runout where fans recreate the famous scene. The stormtroopers in Star Wars are known for, shall we say, their ineptitude when it comes to shooting. However, one particular trooper in Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope made an even bigger impact, in more ways than one. When our heroes find themselves trapped inside a trash compactor, they call upon C-3PO to get them out.
Garbage chute is a really wonderful idea. What an incredible smell you've discovered.
Back in the control room, a group of stormtroopers break in, and as they're coming through the doors, one stormtrooper bashes his head. Not only do we see this happen, but we hear it as well. Look closer and you can even see him looking a little dazed and confused in the background. It is now known as one of the most famous movie blunders ever, and while it does detract from the moment, it's undeniably hilarious. Speaking to The Hollywood Reporter, Laurie Good, the man in the suit, described what happened and that he had been feeling unwell on that particular day, saying, "On about the fourth take, as I shuffled along, I felt my stomach rumbling, and bang, I hit my head. As I wasn't moving too fast, it was more of a scuffed bash, so it didn't hurt. I expected it to end up on the cutting room floor, but when I did see it in the cinema, I thought, OMG, that's me."